What if I told you that one of the most decorated heroes of World War II wasn't a man, but a 400-pound Syrian brown bear who drank beer, wrestled with his comrades, and literally carried artillery shells in the heat of battle? This isn't a fairy tale. This is the insane and entirely true story of Wojtek, the bear who rose through the ranks of the Polish army and became a legend. Get ready to have your mind blown. Our story begins in the unlikeliest of places, the mountains of Iran, 1942. A group of Polish soldiers fresh out of brutal Soviet labor camps were on a long journey to join the Allied forces in the Middle East. Exhausted and with little to their name, they were a corps of forgotten men. It was on this grueling trek that they stumbled upon a young Iranian boy who had a tiny orphaned bear cub. The cub's mother had been shot by hunters and he was all alone. The soldiers, despite their own hardships, were moved. They pooled their meager rations, a few coins, a Swiss Army knife, and most importantly, a single can of corned beef, and bought the cub. They named him Wojtek, which in Polish means joyful warrior, or sometimes he who enjoys war. The name was a perfect fit. The little furball was instantly adopted by the 22nd Artillery Supply Company. At first he was just their furry friend, bottle-fed condensed milk from an empty vodka bottle, which he happily slurped down. But as he grew, his tastes matured. He developed an insatiable love for honey and fruit, and his favorite beverage became a cold bottle of beer, which he'd happily chug with the men. He even picked up a quirky habit of smoking cigarettes. He'd take them from a soldier, but instead of lighting them, he'd simply eat them. He was a master of mischief, once escaping his enclosure to steal an entire laundry line of bras and panties, much to the amusement and embarrassment of the troops. But a big problem loomed. The Polish II Corps was preparing to sail to Italy to fight the Nazis, and British transport regulations strictly forbade animals on troop ships. The Polish soldiers were faced with a gut-wrenching choice: abandon their beloved comrade or find a way around the rules. Their solution? Pure genius. They officially enlisted Wojtek into the Polish army. He was given a paybook, a service number, and a rank, private. And just like that, the bear was a soldier. And a soldier was allowed on the ship. The legend of Private Wojtek was born, and he was on his way to the front lines. Wojtek wasn't a small cub anymore. He had grown to a massive size, over 400 pounds and nearly 6 feet tall when standing on his hind legs. He rode in the passenger seat of supply trucks, and his favorite game was still to wrestle with his fellow soldiers. He was incredibly strong, but his gentle nature meant he never hurt anyone. He was more than a mascot. He was an integral part of the unit, providing much-needed comfort and camaraderie in the grim realities of war. Wojtek's biggest test came at the Battle of Monte Cassino, a brutal, months-long struggle that claimed thousands of lives. The terrain was hellish, and the Germans held the high ground in an ancient monastery fortress. Artillery shells and supplies had to be hauled up steep, rocky slopes under constant fire. The soldiers were exhausted, their morale sinking. It was a hellish meat grinder. And then, in a moment that defines this entire unbelievable story, Wojtek saw the men struggling. He stood on his hind legs, grabbed a massive crate of artillery shells that would normally take 4 men to lift, and started carrying it, one crate after another. He never dropped a single one. This bear, a creature of pure instinct, understood his role. He wasn't just a mascot anymore, he was a lifeline. His strength and calm demeanor under fire were a huge boost to the men's morale. In the midst of explosions and gunfire, the sight of a giant bear calmly carrying ammunition was enough to make anyone do a double take. For his bravery, he was promoted to corporal, and his company adopted a new emblem, a bear carrying an artillery shell. Wojtek wasn't just a soldier, he was a combat hero. After the war, Wojtek, along with the rest of his Polish unit, was transferred to Scotland. He was a local celebrity, famous for his beer-loving wrestling antics. But with the war over and the Polish forces demobilizing, a new heartbreaking decision had to be made. He couldn't return to Poland, which was now under Soviet control, and he was too tame to be released into the wild. Eventually, a new home was found for him at the Edinburgh Zoo. He lived out his days there, a beloved attraction. His old comrades would visit him often, throwing him cigarettes to eat or even jumping into his enclosure for a friendly bear hug, much to the zoo staff's horror. Wojtek died in 1963, a hero to the Polish people. He remains a symbol of resilience, bravery, and the remarkable bonds formed in the chaos of war. The story of Wojtek reminds us that courage can be found in the most unexpected places. He was a creature of a different species, who in the face of unimaginable violence, chose to stand with his friends and fight for a cause he couldn't possibly have understood. And that, my friends, is a story worth telling. So, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more incredible, untold, historical tales, hit that subscribe button. You won't believe what we have in store for you next.